Well, after the dramatic fire that destroyed our Leopard 50 catamaran, it's time to start boat shopping all over again at the Annapolis Boat Show. This week we feature the Outremer 45. And if you'd like a detailed walkthrough of the boat like Riley and Elayna from Vagabonde sailed on, then kick off your shoes and come barefoot with us.
Welcome to the Outremer 45, a performance catamaran built in France and well respected in the industry.
This is a 45?
Yes, the 45.
Yeah.
So originally when it was built as a 45.
Yeah.
But they actually ended up extending the transoms a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
So in reality it's actually now 48 foot.
Oh, right, okay.
But they kind of just kept the name because they haven't changed the interior. Really all they've done is added the transom
hulls, yeah.
on the end
Yeah,
there.
okay.
In keeping sort of with your performance boats,
Yeah.
you've got the dagger boards here.
Yeah.
One of the things Outremer does that's pretty unique, I think, is this is all the way up right now. So with a lot of dagger boarded boats, when your dagger board's up, it sits really high, you know, it adds windage, kind of gets in your vision. But what they do with Outremer is they actually have a strengthened trunk, the dagger board trunk. And so when this is down, it recesses into the trunk. And all the way up, you're looking at a draft of around 3'3", and then all the way down, the paperwork says 6'6".
I mean, the other thing is your steering station for, you've got a combination of wheel and tiller.
Yeah.
For those people that like the feel.
Absolutely, and I mean, I've been on the tiller. I've helped sail the predominantly the 5X a couple of times.
Yeah.
And I mean, the tiller arm is amazing.
Is it?
It really is. Pretty much all the watches I do at night, it's just so nice to sit out there, kind of feel the ocean, you know, watch the sails, and it's just really peaceful.
So when you're sailing with the tiller, can you actually feel the powering up when you're getting just exactly in the slot?
You can really feel the boat, but you're also not fighting it. I don't know how they get the balance right, but they really do. You know, you can feel the movement of the boat, but it's easy.
Yeah, I mean, I have seen a few people on the Outremers specifically choosing to tiller steer.
Yes.
You know, and some of the passengers just for the fun of it. You know.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And like I was saying, I mean, when I do trips on them, I spend a lot of my time on the tillers, and the seat's surprisingly comfortable as well.
Okay.
So yeah. So I think if you're gonna be purchasing an Outremer, you've got to really have an enjoyment for the sailing aspect of the boat. If you're kind of just looking for a boat to get your destination and be a home, and you're not, the sailing is just a means to get to your destination, it's probably not going to be the Outremer that's the boat for you. But if you're really passionate about the sailing portion, that's what Outremer is built for. And then as well, the other thing with Outremer is the safety feature, because they do build predominantly with blue water sailing in mind. They come standard as a 3 cabin, not a 4 cabin. So you know, they're not building it all for charter markets or anything like that. In terms of like their partition, the way they partition their portions of the boat.
Waterproof bulkheads.
But they've got them in sort of multiple layers.
So do you have, in terms of safety, like watertight voids or anything like that through the boat? So if the boat gets flooded, there's actually,
Yeah, absolutely. When you're looking in the front section here, this is obviously where one's expecting an impact to happen if something were to happen. So the floor that you see at the bottom here is actually sitting a fair bit off the actual base of the boat. And so the actual floor is a watertight bulkhead. And then forward, this shelf you're seeing here is another watertight bulkhead. And within that, it's actually partitioned into about 3 separate watertight bulkheads.
Okay.
The idea being that if you take a small knock, you don't need to fill the whole void, right?
Perfect.
And then this bulkhead right here is also watertight.
So you can lose the whole bow of your boat and you don't get any water in the back.
Yeah, the majority of the watertight areas happen in the bow and then in the engine room. It will also be its own separate room. It's very rare to overturn a catamaran, but if you do it, you want to know that you've got some safety and the ability to stay with your boat. So they kind of go above and beyond there. They put the jack stays on the bottom. as well as having a little bit of this grip.
Yeah.
So, you know, if a worst case event were to happen, you've actually got that
non-slip on the underneath,
so,
which is now the top.
Yeah.
I did that on my cat too, actually. With the non-slip underneath.
Yeah. I'm actually not sure what the fabric is itself, but as you can see, it does have a fair degree of stretch to it. They also go from the factory, they have a slightly wider aperture neck. And then they have the long bows, which is pretty signature with Outremer. The idea behind that is just to maintain buoyancy. So if you're going through rough seas, having the extra buoyancy up front helps stabilize the boat.
Presumably the long distance from the bow to the bridge decks can also reduce slamming.
Yes,
if you're sailing fast, then your bow's going to lift up much earlier than a boat that's got the bridge deck back here.
Yes, and having these those airtight compartments as well makes sure that you've got, you know, it's not just loaded down in the bows. You've got those air pockets to help lift as well.
You've also got this sort of shoulders, which if you're going to be digging in, if you're going downwind and you're digging in, it also, once the water gets up above those shoulders, you get more buoyancy too.
Kind of helps buoyancy to it. And then, you know, that of course is also part of the role of the nacelle as well. So it is a boat that has the nacelle. That's, you know, if your bow is going through the wave, and you're hitting here, you've got the nacelle to help lift your nose as well. Primary role is more the buoyancy aspect, but in my experience at least, it feels like it does help with sort of breaking up the impact as well. On a boat that's sort of oriented around performance, the balancing of your weight is also going to be fairly important. And so what they do is they put the fuel and water tanks right here underneath the mast. So it's a fairly centralized location to have your really heavy items. The standard sails are just going to be your normal Dacron. I think the most popular, at least in my experience, has been the Hydronet. So, which is an option from the factory. And I think the majority of our clients go with the Hydronet sails. But there are many other options as well.
The other thing that affects performance, which obviously you've got a huge distance from your forestay to the mast.
I mean, if you can fit a larger sail up front, it's going to help with your performance for sure. And what they do is you can have the option of a self-tacking jib, or you can put, they've actually got a track system or a floating box system that you can have on top with a genoa. But if you go with the self-tacking jib, you can actually fit a fairly sizable jib.
I know, that's really big. I mean, to have a jib going from there all the way to there, that's a huge jib. For self-tacking, that's fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, you know, you've also got the bowsprit, which will be an option for your forward sail. So you've got the 45 and the 4X. They're both the same size. 4X is going to be the slightly more performance-orientated one. So all the carbon, all the lightweight options. So these hulls are foam core, and then they're just vacuum-sealed fiberglass. But you can have certain components done in carbon fiber. So on this boat, for example, you've got a carbon fiber bulkhead under the mast and a carbon fiber bulkhead at the stern. Now that is an option that you can choose to take or not. Well, you got the 4X and the 5X.
So they've just got more carbon throughout the boat to make it a much lighter boat.
Essentially, they take it would be like taking the 45 and adding all the lightweight options that are available to you. There are some differences as well, though. So, for example, on the 45, you can't have a Solent or an inner stay. So on the 4X, they will strengthen this section of the boat, and it'll give you the ability to have a Solent as well.
That looks quite a nice setup with the anchor. You have very good visibility to see it dropping.
Yeah, great visibility and great accessibility as well.
So let's move on and discuss the steering station. There are dual positions. You can steer either from the wheel or the seat with the tiller, and all the lines run back to these main winches in front of the steering wheel or behind the steering station. And as Terry said, this boat is designed for real sailors that enjoy actually sailing. This position, you can see the sails, you can see the four corners of the boat, and you feel the wind in your face and the spray on your skin. The cabin top is also low, so the boat is very streamlined and does not produce much wind resistance like the larger cruising catamarans. The cockpit layout is a very standard design with two L-shaped settees and a central table. It is covered by a solid cockpit roof for sun protection, and walk through bulkheads. The opening to the saloon is well ventilated and wide, allowing good ventilation. And you see a classic settee with table in front of you and an L-shaped galley on the right. There is good storage areas and again very functional and practical setup in the galley. The nav station on the starboard side is forward facing, tidy with good visibility all around the boat. Going down the starboard hull into the owner's cabin, find a comfortable large double bed in the rear, but you will notice that the hulls here are significantly narrower than the production charter boats because this is a performance catamaran. Escape hatches are a certification requirement, but in my view present more risk to the safety of the boat than benefits. The owner's cabin has a spacious ensuite and there certainly seems to be plenty of storage as well. Going down into the port hull, you have a double berth at the rear and a narrower double berth in the bow with a shared ensuite in the central area.
Alright guys, so we have just seen
The Outremer 45.
Yes.
And
I think we need to have a chat about it. So we got a coffee and and we're going to have a chat. All right. So do you want to start about what
Sure.
you thought about the Outremer?
okay, so the Outremer, this is a 48-foot boat, even though it's called a 45, but it is a performance catamaran. This is a light boat. It's 8.7 tons. It's built very well, very strong construction, properly filleted and glass. So it's a very rigid boat. There's also additional strengthening throughout the boat because it's built with foam, as Terry was saying before. So it's a light boat, thin hulls, dagger boards, so there's no deep keels. The dagger boards lift up, which give you reduced resistance through the water, and you can take it to shallow areas. Really good as a performance catamaran.
Ticked a few boxes there.
It did.
And because we've had a performance catamaran before, we know what it's like. So there's no surprises here. One of the things that with a performance catamaran is they're light. And when they're light, they're more bumpy, I guess. And look, when we had our performance cat, the bumpiness, I didn't even really notice it on the outside. In fact,
While
I was sailing. In fact, while it's quite bumpy, it's really good fun, isn't it?
Yeah, it can be. I mean, the light boats will lift up with every wave. You'll have a lot more, taking off over waves and diving under waves, diving through waves sometimes as well.
Riding the bow,
So that's really exciting. So this is all about enjoyment of the actual sailing, and that is what Terry said. You should have enjoyment of the actual process of sailing. You should be keen to actively be out there sailing the boat, trimming the sails, making it go fast, and enjoying the journey. This is not about sitting back with your martini, ignoring the sails as the squalls come through, which you can do a lot more in a heavier cruising boat. They are much more forgiving for not adjusting the sails, not having to take as much care with wind shifts or wind gusts.
A light boat, you get, you feel the wind shift, you feel, the movement of the water, and you become one with the sea,
The downside of that when you're going long distances is you are outside. You get the spray, you get the water, and you get the sun. In reality, most of the time when you're cruising, you're going to be under auto helm, so you can go inside out of the elements while the auto helm is coping with the sailing. So let's just go through the pros again. So it's well built. There's lots of safety features. There's airtight voids, which is really important from my perspective. Very few boats have sealed airtight voids which will not fill if the boat fills up with water. All boats will have watertight bulkheads, like collision bulkheads, but if you've got a hole in the hull, the water comes up into the boat, and if you don't have airtight voids, you will sink. So to me, airtight voids are really important.
When I was outside, I didn't mind the lightness, the rocking, the feeling, the waves and the up and down motion, that kind of thing, because you're actually watching what's going on and your body moves with the waves. However, when you're inside and you're trying to do something where you're trying to be still, say, cooking, sewing, patching, cleaning, sleeping, whatever it might be, and you're not out there watching the wave, it can be quite harsh on the body, the jolting and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But that's what I found, but only when you're inside and you're trying to concentrate on not sailing.
If you're in a fast boat like this Outremer and you're going fast and the sea state is such that it's very uncomfortable inside, you can back off, reduce sail and go down to a speed where it's comfortable again.
Yeah.
So all of that is perfectly manageable if that's what you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
So the other pros for this boat is has dagger boards, it sails beautifully upwind, it does perform, it does do 15, 18, 20 knots. Because we've seen it on other people's boats. So the other interesting thing is that Outremer do not release polar diagrams, which are the performance against wind speed and direction that most of the other manufacturers provide. And what people normally do with that is get some more accurate reflection of what sort of speeds you can expect when you buy a boat. It's interesting as to why they don't, because I personally want to see them. And if anybody knows why that is, that they're not released by Outremer, please let us know, because that's a very interesting deviation from the normal information that you can get when you're looking into the boats and their performances. So let's talk about the cons, which obviously everything is relative and this all depends on what you particularly want. So as we said, you need to be actively out there trimming the sails, taking more advantage of the lightness of the boat and the high performance sails, but it does mean you're exposed to the elements, the sun, wind and spray over the top, and we've experienced that. Great while you're excited and young and fit. We are young and fit, but we're probably not that excited anymore about doing it.
We're not as young and fit as we used to be.
So the other thing about a performance cat is that you have to limit the amount of stuff that you carry on the boat. It is very weight sensitive because it's an 8.7 ton boat. If you put on 3 tons, you've increased your weight by 30%.
Which affects the performance.
Yeah, so the more you put on, the slower you go, and then you lose those benefits. So you have to be careful with what you put on the boat. Most Outremers don't come with air conditioning, or people don't put it on for that specific reason. Obviously, it's a low-profile boat. There is no fly bridge. There is no front cockpit. So again, if those are things that are important to you, then this is not the boat for you either. But if you love to sail and you want a light performance boat that's going to take you around the world with those limitations, then this may well be the boat for you. The other couple of issues is how much does it cost? Obviously, any boat's going to depend on the sort of options you put on it, but an Outremer 45 costs around $800,000 to $900,000, and the upmarket versions, the 4Xs, I believe, cost in the region of $900,000 to $1 million, depending on the options that you take. So obviously, you can get boats that are cheaper.
You might get more comfort for your money, but with Outremer, you're going to get more speed and more performance for your money.
So again, this whole triangle between comfort, performance and cost is you're always moving between these different areas. And if you have more comfort, you get more weight, so you lose the performance. So obviously Outremer places themselves in this position where this is a performance boat. It's not a cheap boat, but you're paying for the performance and the carbon fiber and the high quality construction. Fantastic boats, perform well, sail around the world, and there's lots of examples of that. So this is a great boat if you want a fast boat and are wanting to sail properly.
And can I say, with Outremer, they're an innovative company that seem to keep abreast of the ever-changing face of the sailing world, really.
If you order an Outremer, you can also have a lot of options, a lot of adjustments, because each boat is made specifically for you. Now, one of the other disadvantages about buying a new Outremer right now is the delivery times now are pushed out, I'm afraid, to 2026. So
2026, God, how old would we be?
I know. So if you want one, order it quickly. This is something you're going to find with a lot of these boats from the Annapolis show. The waiting times are extreme.
The guys at Outremer are a great company and
helpful. They know their stuff and they will help you out.
Look them up if you think this is the type of boat for you.
Yeah, Just Catamarans in the USA are the dealer. Obviously in Europe, go directly to Outremer in France.
So we want to say thank you to Terry for giving us his time and his expertise as he was taking us through the boat.
and the openness of the Just Catamarans team for providing us with all this information.
Well, I really like Outremer and I give them a thumbs up.
Absolutely.
And they're a great company and they tick a lot of the boxes. So if you think this is a boat for you, then reach out to them, give them a call, and I'm sure they will oblige.
Absolutely. So all the best, guys. Hope that was useful, and we'll keep bringing more guided tours to you over the next few weeks. Thanks very much. All the best.
If you have liked this episode, hit the like button, subscribe for free, and ding the dong so you don't miss your fix of the next exciting episode. Love and health from the Barefoot Doctors.
Filleted and filleted and what do you call it?
Moving right along. Well, obviously, you know, I don't know how I said it.